Well, I am Glenn Spray. I was born in West Virginia, moved here in 1940. My brother and I helped my dad on this originally 140 acres. After that, we started buying different pieces of land. Dad passed away in 1972 or 3. After he passed away, my brother and I decided we should probably farm organically. That way we didn't have to buy fertilizer. Organic food would be better to eat. So we started, I believe, in 1972 or 3, and we were certified around 1984. But we have been farming organically ever since. And my son Howard has been working since he was a little boy, and he has been taking care of the farm now. His son Dustin is here, and he is helping out. So I wanted to keep it as Spray Farms organically grown.
We had talked earlier about some of the earlier pioneers of OFA, and the name Rex Spray came up. And Rex probably was the initiator of that. It actually even goes back to a company. I never worked with this company. It was called Wonder Life. But the people that was in Wonder Life started AgriStore. And it was a bacterial product that had 36 different strands of bacteria in it. But anyways, they introduced us through what they called dinner parties. And there was a neighbor that was farming organically. Of course, there wasn't no certification at that time. And he had invited myself and my dad and our spouses to it, and we went to this dinner, and they give us a free dinner, and then they talked about life in the soil and different aspects of organic farming, and they really didn't push their product at that meeting, but they handed cards out, and if you wanted, if you were interested more, then they would come talk to you more one-on-one, because it is farm specific. I mean, you can talk generally, but to get into the nuts and bolts of it, each individual farm is different. Well, I tried to get my dad to do that, and of course, when I did start farming, then I had actually, I didn't have any agricultural school, background as far as college or anything like that. But like I said, he cultivated. I mean, as a kid growing up, that was my summers, sitting on a tractor, 2-row cultivator, cultivating corn and soybeans all summer long. But so when I started, I says, Dad, we need to do this, we need to do that. We started using more chemicals. He was putting 300 pounds of fertilizer on with the corn planter on corn, and that was it, and cultivating. And I says, Dad, we need to do more. So we was using more fertilizer, we was using more chemicals, and then, like I said, we got introduced to this, and of course he kind of grew up not knowing farming, more naturally, but he's seen the ease of it, of not as much labor in it. And of course, then I couldn't get him to go back. So we continued farming conventionally, and it wasn't until after my father passed away, I could see things just weren't right with the soil. We was having trouble. And so in 86 is when we quit using chemicals cold turkey, and have been organic since.
He was raising all these radishes, and he got a disease in them, and he couldn't find any type of pesticide to take care of it, and it just so happened that a salesman came along with seaweed or kelp and asked him to try it, and so he spread some of that on his fields. and he noticed that his problem with his radishes was eradicated. So we assumed it was because of the variety of minerals and so forth that was in the kelp. So he started spreading kelp on all his fields, and from there realized that some of the friendly fungi and the earthworms and everything were coming back into the soil. And so he started looking for some other products to use that were natural then too. So that was the beginning of Ohio Earth Food, and
Well, my father always had a garden, and even though we hated it, the food was always good. They didn't have a lot of money, so meat was a rarity, and so my mother would can 50 quarts of green beans. Actually, my mother and father would work together on all those things, and we would help snapping beans. So we had an agricultural experience. And then I moved to Chicago after getting out of college, had an interview with, I think it was Motorola. And it was like going to Never Land. I was sitting there and this guy was telling me I was going to live in a cubicle for the rest of my life. And it just sort of freaked me out. And it's like somebody sitting behind me watching me do this. So I got a job teaching school in the inner city, so I didn't have to go to Vietnam and fight in the Vietnam War. And I taught in the inner city for 2 years, and then moved to Columbus and got involved in we actually in Chicago formed a food buying club because a lot of people, I used to go to a Jewel Tea store, and because we always ate out of the garden, I would buy fresh produce. The guy at the thing's hand were split and cracked all over the place. And I asked him one day what was going on with his hands, and he said, my doctor told me that all the fungicides and pesticides that are on the food, I have to set all this stuff out, and I should wear gloves, but the company, Jewel Tea, didn't want somebody wearing gloves because it would make it look like the food wasn't. So I started thinking, well, I'm eating this supposedly fresh produce out of this Jewel Tea store, and it's not very good. So we formed a buying club and started buying and importing stuff from California that was organic.